Okay, so my colleague Chiranjeevi is based at the Leprosy Mission Nepal. As Kamran's just mentioned, he's not here. He's currently in Ethiopia. So I'm morphing it in. Okay, so let me introduce you to the Leprosy Mission in Nepal. Leprosy Mission Nepal is based at Anandaban Hospital, which has been opened since 1957. It is a WHO-recognized research hub. The leprosy control was a major focus in those days, and one of the highest points of the hospital has been the microbacterial research laboratory, which has been open since 1981, has published over 110 scientific journals, and is supported through the Leprosy Mission and through universities across America as well. There is training and technical support since 1984, and in 1994 they started capacity building for government health workers and other institutions to look at leprosy, and also look at leprosy as a social issue as well as a research aspect. Since 2005, the Leprosy Mission Nepal have also been providing community-based rehabilitation projects, which has been key to, as well as diagnosing individuals with leprosy, it's also to provide community-based support and awareness, and obviously working through issues around stigma as well.
Now I would like to give...
Okay. So the leprosy services, just to give you a highlight across working within the government of Nepal, they offer health posts and public health community workers and some government hospitals, which do cover some aspects of leprosy, but there's not a huge level of knowledge in there, and that's why we need to provide training. Leprosy in itself, there is offering multi-drug therapy, which contains rifampicin, clofazimine and dapsone. So anyone diagnosed is offered those 3 MDT therapies. They also offer reaction treatment. Many people who typically come out with leprosy, especially if they've had it for longer than 12 months, potentially over a year, within 2 years, typically up to 50% of individuals with leprosy end up with reaction, and that is a reaction as a result of either having clofazimine or dapsone, in which case prednisolone is given for a 4-week trial, and then they're re-engaged back into the main MDT trials again. They offer lab tests within the hospitals, but only few of the hospitals can offer smear tests, which helps towards understanding the microbacterial load of the M. leprae bacterium. Dermatologists throughout Nepal, and certainly across most of the Leprosy Mission countries where we work, there are very few of them. And a lot of places where we work, it's not, if someone comes forward with leprosy, they're not diagnosed directly by the doctors. They need to be seen through a dermatologist because of the skin, because of the discoloration of the skin, and obviously the better understanding. Self-care services and trainings are very scant. And in the 1990s, when leprosy was seen as an eliminated disease, a neglected tropical disease, a lot of money came out from the governments. So the emergence of it reoccurring, the government hasn't felt the importance to provide retraining again or put money back into the services. That's where the Leprosy Mission has been trying to support with training for other services. Physiotherapy and occupational therapy services, again, are not available. A lot of the time, people who suffer from leprosy may need to, because of the loss of sensation, one of the key things is obviously to try to encourage movement wherever possible, to prevent, to kind of keep people mobile, and obviously if there's been an issue around amputating of legs, it's how to kind of stay active and keep the individual moving. So one of the key non-government actors for leprosy services in Nepal, obviously you've got the Leprosy Missions and Anandaban Hospital, which is one of the key referral centres for leprosy diagnosis, reconstructive surgery, reaction and ulcer management. There's a hospital in Lalgad, Green Pastures, Shining Hospital, one in Banki and Sukkot, and one supported through the Netherlands Leprosy Relief. A lot of these areas are very spread across, but what you'll typically find is the main services are kind of brought back into Anandaban Hospital, because that's where you'll find the main surgical teams, and also to support with a lot of kind of pre-community support as well. So approximately 53% of diagnosis of leprosy in Nepal is done through the Leprosy Mission Nepal, Netherlands Leprosy Relief, and INF. The diagnosis and treatment, there are complications, and it is offered through kind of diagnostics, and support is offered through the Leprosy Mission Nepal team. The centres, all three of these centres offer physiotherapy and occupational therapy across Nepal. However, depending on the location where things are, we may refer to each other's services. Training on self-care, especially disability prevention, is really key. And one of the key points is just to mention that whenever anyone is diagnosed with leprosy, there is always a worry that they will lose their income and lose the opportunity of working. And it's trying to re-engage people so they can keep active and try to stay self-motivated to kind of keep making an income, and obviously get rid of some of the stigmas associated with disability. I've mentioned the relapse. It is key to a lot of people who end up with leprosy. And whenever these relapses do happen, reactions do happen, people are immediately referred to Anandaban Hospital and to the microbacterium labs, where they do the tests again for the patients. So that is just the leprosy incidence map. Obviously, one of the key things to note with Nepal is it sits quite closely with India. And one of the biggest things that we've noticed is we do tend to find people filtering in from India into Nepal for treatment. India has the highest incidence of leprosy across, globally, alongside Brazil and Indonesia. One of the things we've noticed quite a lot is that people tend to flow into the districts which are close to the Indian border and Nepal border, only because they worry about the stigma. So they feel if they get treated back home, people will recognise them, it'll alienate them from the communities. So coming into Nepal, getting treatment, and then going back, no one is going to be the wiser. So over the past few years, just to highlight, Nepal has had quite high levels of leprosy cases. It's kind of stayed the same throughout. So leprosy, the more we are finding it and recognizing it and raising awareness, more and more people are starting to come out. One of the big aspects of it has been obviously offering reconstructive surgery and making people aware that, you know, even how early on, if they're starting to lose the sensation or if their fingers are starting to stump, there can be surgery that can be offered. And if you think about a lot of places like Nepal, your first sight is always the hands together where they greet you. If their hands are slightly clawed, people are worried that they won't be accepted within communities, so they didn't come forward. Now we offer reconstructive surgery, which can kind of align their fingers straight up, so people can walk around with leprosy without you knowing they have leprosy. So LPEP, leprosy post-exposure prophylaxis. A while back, LPEP was piloted, and it's a pilot that has been offered across the leprosy missions in Bangladesh, India, and Nepal. In Nepal, it was originally offered in 3 locations, in Jampa, Morang, and Parsa, and then it was extended out to the other 6. The idea of the PEP program is to look at identify a person affected by leprosy, and then going into that household and identifying the people close by. Whoever is close by to that individual, because we don't fully understand how the bacterium is spread, it is to offer them a single dose rifampicin to all the close contacts. So it's kind of laying any kind of diagnosis of leprosy at a later stage. All the contacts are given a single dose rifampicin based on their weight, after ruling out complications of other conditions as well. Other benefits of the PEP programme is that it provides capacity building of periphery health workers and volunteers, and it also helps with new cases of leprosy found as a result of active search and case detection and active contact survey. A lot of the times you will find people who have leprosy don't realise they have leprosy because it might take a few years down the line before any of the first symptoms arise, and especially if they're living in close contact. By using the PEP trials, we're able to kind of reach them much quicker. And obviously, through the PEP trials, we've also been able to reach young children as well. One of the important things that was highlighted through the PEP trials was that young children are also at high risk of developing leprosy from a very young age. And typically, also for women, really important, in most places, especially in those three locations, Champa, Morag and Pasa, a lot of women didn't come forward for any leprosy treatment. It was seen as a man's treatment. So only women, unless they were really vital in the household and they were the providers, they were never kind of given any treatment. By going forward, finding the individual with leprosy and then giving them treatment for leprosy with a single dose of rifampicin, we were able to identify them much sooner. So since the LPEP, the WHO recommendations have since come out. They are now recommending that all three multi-drug treatments be given to all types of leprosy. Previously, multibacillary leprosy got all three drugs, multibacillary leprosy got all three drugs, and porcibacillary leprosy only got dapsone and rifampicin. This now means that the difficulties of distinguishing between MB and PB can't mean that someone who is given the wrong prescription. It also makes drugs logistics much simpler, as standard blister packs of MDT with all three drugs can now be given to all leprosy patients. Although all types of leprosy will get the same three drugs, they will get them for the different time periods: 6 months for PB leprosy and 12 months for MB leprosy. This is good news because at one point WHO were looking at putting everyone on just 6 months of treatment, which quite a lot of our Indian hospitals fiercely opposed. WHO has recognised that there was no evidence for justifying reducing treatment to less than 6 months. And obviously Novartis is obviously supplying the free drugs based on the WHO guidelines. And one of the key aspects just to mention is that a lot of our Indian hospitals fiercely opposed it because they felt that the number that was coming through for drugs, free drugs, it wasn't enough for a lot of the communities that were receiving the drugs. But now obviously these coming through, they're hoping that the load will be much more higher. Following successful of the PEP trials in Nepal and Bangladesh, in which TLM was a key player, WHO are now approving single-dose rifampicin to be given to contacts of leprosy cases, provided they meet certain criteria. SDR has demonstrated a 57% reduction in the risk of leprosy after 2 years, so being able to give this to contacts of index cases could make a significant difference in interrupting the transmission of leprosy. And yeah, Chiranjeev, we just wanted to highlight this case story from Neera Devi. She is a 25-year-old lady who lived in the Parsa village with MB leprosy. She was given 3 months of MDT and also has a baby of 3 months. The local health workers from the government came along, visited her with the support of the Leprosy Mission, and obviously with her consent, tested her household as well, raised the awareness of leprosy and some of the issues around it as well, and obviously the fact that drugs are available, it is a treatable disease. Naturally, not to go through the whole thing, one of the key things that she had mentioned that she had been discriminated a lot because of the negative attitude and behaviour of a lot of people with those affected by leprosy. It also happened in her village, but also in other places as well. The health workers who came to know about all of the kind of discrimination that was kind of mentioned, they actually came out with Leprosy Mission members of staff and held pretty much like an open panchayat conversation like I'm doing now, talking to you all. And I kind of mentioned the fact that, look, leprosy is a treatable disease. Just because this woman has it, we are not giving her medicine. She can carry on with normal life. You're not going to get it. Let's talk, you know, if you find these things, you need to come forward sooner. As a result of a lot of them coming, as a result of the health workers coming forward and talking, we did actually get quite a lot of other members in the community come forward later and say, actually, I've got skin patches, I've got loss of sensation, which I think might be leprosy. We tested them, got them treatment, also give them single dose rifampicin to their close contacts, and we kind of actively found the disease and were able to treat it straight away. So the discrimination level pretty much went down quite quickly, and the acceptance was much faster. And that's it. There you go.